Hi everyone, welcome back. We're going to continue on with our model now, and we're going to start constructing the ring pull for our can. There are basically two parts to this. The first is the ring pull, and the second is a little pin or a rivet that fixes the ring pull onto the actual can of the body. We'll begin by importing our second supplied file, which is the ring pull. So we'll go up to the File menu and down to Import, and we'll come across once again to our project folder. Remember in the last video when we did an import function, it's taking us straight to the data folder. That's where it expects to find imported file or files to be imported. What we need to do is go up one folder level back to our project folder, and then we need to go down to the scenes folder, and once again we need to change the file format that it's going to import. So we need to switch that to a Maya binary, and we have our can ring pull base file just here. So we'll select that and open it, and what it's going to do is place it in the middle of the grid just here. So it's going to be sitting underneath our can. So for the time being, what I'm going to do is place the main body of the can into a layer in a similar way as I did with the NURBS curve object in the previous video. So I'll select the can, and I will click the Create a New Layer and Assign Selected Objects button just here from the Layer Editor. Once again, you can access the layer editor from the tab here, keeping in mind that these toggles need to be active to see the tabs. So I'll just click that button, and it's created a new layer. What I can do then is I can just turn the visibility off, and I'll rename the layer just for completeness sake. So I'm just going to call this can body, like that, and just hit save for the time being. So we can turn that on and off here. But for the time being, what we're going to do is create a ring pull from this file. So just select the ring pull object and press F. As with the previous file, what I did was I imported the curve that I created in Illustrator, and rather than creating a curve shape in here, what I did was actually create a polygon shape using the Adobe Illustrator object. Basically what I did was I created a bevel shape, but I turned off the create bevel at start and at end, and technically what that should do is just give me a flat polygon like this. I then made a few alterations to it, adding some divisions and so on, and just kind of tidying it up a little bit using the cut face or the interactive split tool just here. That's sort of how I've gotten to this point. All right. Now, obviously, you guys aren't going to have to do any of that because I've supplied this here for you. So let's get on with actually creating the ring pull from this object. So the first thing that I want to do is actually take this existing ring pull, and I want to mirror it across to the other side of the grid. So I've got a full ring pull shape. Now there's roughly 3 different ways of doing this, using different tools and different methods, and none of those tools particularly are foolproof. Each of them has their own little quirks and issues. We're going to try I'll try what should be the easiest way first, and we'll see if it actually functions. We'll go to the mesh menu. Now, once again, the mesh menu is accessible if you have your menu set status here set to polygons. So under the mesh menu, we've got right down the bottom, we've got mirror cut, and we've got mirror geometry. Now, mirror cut is basically the mirror tool which will randomly remove the material off your object, so parts of your object disappear when you've done the mirror, and you have to reapply the material manually afterwards. The mirror geometry tool, depending on the size of your object in comparison to the grid, the mirror geometry tool can actually collapse your object down into a single vertex. Anytime you've got vertices that are very close together, like for example maybe these, the mirror geometry tool sometimes can actually kind of connect those together. So we're going to try that and see if it actually works. So I'm going to go into the options menu just here, and basically we're kind of faced with this mirror direction. Now what we want to do is first of all identify which half of the grid our object is on, and from that we can work out which direction we need to mirror in. So if we have a look down here, our viewport axis indicator, we can currently see that the x-axis positive is towards the right hand side of the screen. So our ring pull is currently sitting on the positive x half of the 3D world. Okay, here's our 0 point, so everything to the right of this dark line is positive x, and everything to the left is minus x or negative x. So we want to mirror towards negative x. So what we do is we select negative x just here from the mirror direction. Now below that we've got merge with the original, and we have merge vertices and we have connect border edges. So basically we can either tell it to not connect the new half of the object with the original half by disabling this, or we can tell it to connect together, which is really what we need. And in order to connect together, it can either connect any vertices or points in the object along the mirroring axis, so this line here, or we can tell it to connect border edges. So a border edge is basically any edge that sits along this axis. So we've got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can try both of these options and see if either of them works. I tend to find with merge vertices, as I said before, if you get any vertices in your object which are slightly too close together for this tool, they'll actually collapse. So I'm going to try with vertices first. We'll see if we actually get that collapsing occurring. If we do, we'll undo and try connect border edges. So just with the object as it is, I'm just going to press apply. And you can see that it's jumped across to the other side, and we have actually got some collapsed vertices. So just in here, okay, if I undo this, just by just kind of moving the viewport for a second, pressing Z to undo, you can see these two vertices here. Okay, when I apply the mirror, they snap together. So basically what's happening is this part of the object is collapsing. It's not an absolutely vital spot on the object, but I definitely don't want it to collapse this way. So what we'll do is we'll undo and we'll try connect border edges and see if that works better. So we'll apply that. Okay, so here's the problem with connect border edges. What it's doing is not only is it connecting edges in or along the axis, it's also connecting all the edges around the outside and mirroring those across as well. So really what it's doing is it's kind of scrambling up our object. So you can see here that this mirror tool is not really all that great. I'm just going to try something very quickly. What I'm doing here is selecting the edges along the bordered sort of mirror axis. And you can see there that even selecting those, it's still kind of ignoring the selection and still kind of wrapping polygons over the top of the object. So I tend to find mirror geometry just causes more problems generally than it's worth. I'm going to try one last option here. I'm going to turn off, I'll just set merge vertices back as the option, but I'm going to turn merge with the original off, and I'll just hit object mode and click on here and hit apply. So what's happened here is basically it's mirrored the object across, but it hasn't connected the vertices running down the middle of the mirror axis with one another. So what that means is, just to clarify what that means, I'll just close this off. What that means is basically all the way down the middle, every vertex is actually two vertices, and they're not connected together. So what we need to do is manually merge them together. And the way that we do that, or one way that we do that, is we drag a box across all the vertices running down the middle of the object, like this. Okay. Now, you need to drag a box. If you just click on each one, it'll only select one of each pair of vertices. Once we've got those selected, what we'll do is come up to Edit Mesh, Merge, and it will connect them together. So now if you just click on one of them and use the Move tool, you'll see that it doesn't separate the way it did before. So you can see there that there was three different options with that tool. Two of them just catastrophically didn't work, and the third only did half the job. We had to use a second tool to actually finish it off. And that's part of the problem with almost all the mirroring options in Maya. None of them really do the entire job given any situation. So they're really not that useful a lot of the time. They can be quite a lot of work sometimes. Okay, but we've had success there and mirrored the ring pull across. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the history on the object. So currently with the object selected, looking in the channel box here, I've got some inputs. I have a polymerge vert 1, which was when I merged the vertices together, and then the mirror, which I did before that. What I want to do is delete the history on these. So I'm going to go to Edit, Delete by Type History. Oops, just here. And that will basically remove them from the input history and kind of lock those in. You want to try and avoid having a big history on your object. It can physically slow your computer down, and I have seen on occasion histories actually corrupt objects, and you start to get all kinds of odd errors and glitches when you're trying to use modeling tools and do other various things with those objects. So keep an eye on your history, make sure it doesn't kind of get out of control. Generally speaking, I try and avoid having a history that you can scroll down on. If it gets too long and you can start scrolling with the scroll wheel, it's generally too long by rule of thumb. So what we want to do now is create a little bit of depth to this object. So with the object selected, I'm going to come up to Edit Mesh, and I'm going to select Extrude. Now Extrude will work on polygon selections, but in this case it'll work on the entire object because I just want to make the entire object thicker. So once the Extrude tool handle appears, what I need to do is click on the blue arrow and drag it in the direction the arrow is pointing, like this. And I don't want to go too far up with this, okay? We sort of want to keep the ring pull kind of proportionate, so I'm going to make it about this thick. Okay, so you can see the thickness of that in comparison with the length and the width. Okay, so it's not, you don't want to have a ring pull that's like that, okay? They're usually quite thin, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the Extrude tool off, and I'm going to select these polygons here around this ring, like that. Now this hole here is where the rivet goes through, and it fixes onto, it basically kind of clamps over the top of these selected polygons. This section of the ring pull is actually thinner than the rest. So I'm going to grab the Move tool, and I'm going to move this down to about half the thickness, give or take, of the rest of the ring pull, like that. Okay. So if you right click and hold on the object, select object mode, and then just select the object, you press 3, it'll smooth the ring pull out. And if you deselect, you can kind of have a look at the sort of the shape that you're getting there. At the moment, the edges are really round. So what I want to do is kind of sharpen those up a little bit. I don't want it to be as round as this when it's smooth. So what I'm going to do is, with the object selected, I'm going to come up to, let's have a look here. I'll press number 1 on the keyboard first. That's important. I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, and I'm going to go to Insert Edge Loop, which is just here. And I'll press Options. And I want to keep this set to Relative Distance from Edge, just here. And all I'm going to do is, on the side of the object, I'm going to click and drag. So I'm holding down the left mouse button here, and I want to go maybe about 2/3 of the way up from the bottom, about there. Somewhere around about there. I can edit this in a minute if I need to. I'm also going to do the same thing on the inside of this set of polygons just here, like this. Now what that's going to do, it's going to run around in here and then around down the inside, around through here as well. Okay. I then want to do the same thing on this little inside hole here, although this one's not as important because it'll be covered by a rivet. I'm still going to put one in. And then finally I'm going to do 2 on this inside hole here. So one about here and one about here, like that. Then I'm going to turn the tool off, deselect everything, and then right click and hold on the object and select object mode. And then finally select the object and press 3. So what that's done, it's slightly sharpened up this top edge, just here. You'll see the underside is still round. Generally with these ring pulls, they're stamped out of a piece of aluminium, and they're shaped by folding tabs underneath the ring pull. So when you look at them from underneath, there's usually kind of like a weird kind of groove that runs around the inside, and the sides are basically just curled under. But we won't see really any of that, so we don't really need to worry about it. But we do have these sort of slightly sharpened up upper and lower edges. Now you'll see in here this is kind of a little bit pointy. Okay, if you want, you can select the object and press 1 again. If you want, what you can do is add in another edge in there. So you can turn the tool back on from over here and just drop in another edge like that. You could also do the same at the bottom here if you want. That's kind of optional. It's really up to you. All that's going to do is just kind of sharpen the bottom up and make it a little more square like this when it's smooth. All right. So you don't really need to worry too much about that. Okay, so that's the main body of the ring pull. I'm going to select it and grab the move tool and move it up, just up here somewhere. And then I'll come back over the channel box down to my can body layer, switch it back on. And then what I want to do is I want to turn on at the top of the screen snap to points. And I've got the move tool switched on. I'm going to drag this handle down and it should snap to the middle vertex at the top of the lid, like that. Okay, so it's basically sticking to the top of the lid now. Once you've got that in position, turn the snap to points back off, grab the scale tool, and scale the ring pull down using the handle in the middle. Now the ring pull should be slightly longer than, and this is only approximately, slightly longer than the radius of the top of the can. So the radius is the distance from the middle of the can to this outside lip just here. Okay, so this should be about slightly longer than that distance. So I can move the ring pull back here. Now the back of the ring pull is not going to go right to the edge. It's going to sit about here. This end of the ring pull is slightly over halfway. Now if you can't see where halfway is, you can just select the can. Alright, halfway is where all the points meet in the middle. So you can see here that this kind of overlaps that. So it should be roughly that big. What you can do actually, if you're sort of not sure, select your ring pull, turn wireframe on shaded on, like this, and you can move this across. This is probably, you should probably do this anyway. You can move the ring pull across until the point in the middle of the can top is in the middle of this hole, because that's where we're going to put that rivet. So that's going to kind of sit there. So that's basically where the can ring pull should be. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is create the little rivet for the top that'll fit in there. And all we do for that is we create a cylinder. So we turn on polygon cylinder, and then down here, just somewhere on the grid, I'm just going to click and drag like this and make a little cylinder. Now it doesn't matter at the moment how big it's going to be. We're going to change that in a second. Alright, so what we do is we turn on snap to points like this, and then grab the circle handle in the middle and drag it over the top of the can. Now you can press F to zoom in on that cylinder and just keep adjusting it until it sits in the middle of the top of the can like this. If you're finding it difficult to see, press 4 on the keyboard to switch to wireframe view, or you can press this little wireframe button here, and you can kind of see where all these lines here at the top of the can meet in the middle. You want to snap it onto that point there. Okay, so once you've got that in position, I'm just going to switch smooth shade back on, which is 5 on the keyboard, and I'm going to turn off snap to points. At this point what you can do is just either use the scale tool like this, and using the middle handle you can kind of scale it down. Basically this rivet here wants to be slightly bigger than the hole in the ring pull. So it wants to be about that big. Okay, you can use the move tool and you can kind of position it about there. Okay, so it's just kind of, it's almost level with the top of the ring pull like that. Top of the ring pull, top of the rivet. Okay, so something like that. Finally, what we want to do is select all the polygons on the top of the rivet. So just right click and hold on the object, select face mode, and then hold down shift and just select each of those polygons by clicking on them like this. It's not the fastest way of selecting polygons, but with the object being so small and kind of stuck in the middle of the rest of this, it's probably going to be the easiest way. Okay, now make sure you don't have any other polygons selected on the object. Okay, rotate through, have a look underneath like this, and just make sure that only the tops are selected. Come up to Edit Mesh and select Extrude. And what we're going to do is drag up with the blue arrow, and then hold down Control and left click and drag on the word offset. Just drag it to the right a little bit, just to kind of pop that in. You can also set the division just here to 2, if you like that. Once you've got that done, turn the tool off, deselect everything, and then right click and hold and select object mode. Now what you can do there is select the rivet and press 3, and that'll smooth that off, and when you deselect it, it'll look nice and smooth. And you can also do the same thing with the can if you like. You can select the can, press 3, and that'll just kind of smooth it out, and then switch off wireframe on shaded. There we go. So that's basically the can completely modeled. We've got a little bit of cleanup to do, which we'll do now, just organizing things a little bit better and cleaning some of the histories and so on out. And in the next video, essentially what we'll be doing is beginning the preparation for texturing, and that will involve creating UV templates for the top of the can and also the sides of the can where the label will be positioned. So let's just do a quick cleanup for the object, I'm going to just select all of the objects. So this is the ring pull, the rivet, and the can. And what I want to do is freeze all of these values here, which are all random at the moment. I want to freeze them all out to zeros and ones. So what we do is we go to Modify, Freeze Transformations, and that basically resets these numbers. So now each of the positions that these objects are in are sort of their new sort of default positions. Then what I'll do is remove all the inputs from the object by going up to Edit, Delete by Type, History. That gets rid of all the inputs, like that. Now the only input that you'll find at the moment is the can body, which is this layer just here. And that's fine. As long as this object is in this layer, this input will be here. So you can just leave that as it is. Now if you want, what you can do is add the ring pull and the rivet to a new layer as well. So we'll just click down here and add a new layer, double click the name. I'll call this ring pull. Once again, keep it all one word, separate the individual words in there with capital letters. I'll just press save. So now I've got a ring pull layer, so I can turn that on and off. And I've got a can layer, turn that on and off as well. Okay, so that's it for this video. We'll just do a save. So File, Save Scene As. It'll go straight to the Scenes folder, and I'll save this as TVC Can 002. So there we go. We'll leave this video here, and I will see you in the next video where we'll start doing prep for our texturing. So I'll see you then.